Welcome to the Wednesday Match Play, your weekly connection to the biggest and best brands in golf. On this show you will learn more about the latest golf fashion trends, hear from LPGA and PGA Tour players, get advice on planning your next golf getaway, and much more. Broadcasting live from Santa Rosa, California, please welcome your host, On the Tee, Ricky Potts.
When it comes to golf shirts, there are a lot of options out there. Most designs are simple, some pushing the edge of what we're used to. Then comes Waggle Golf, a new company offering shirt designs that most would consider quote-unquote out there and cutting edge. On this episode of the Wednesday Match Play podcast, Travis Baker gives us an overview of his company, talks about what we can expect next from Wagle, and shares some insight on the shirt names. Some of these things might surprise you. This was a fun episode and I really enjoyed our conversation. Let's jump into it.
Hey, Ricky, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Hey, I'm excited to have you here, and I'm looking forward to learning more about Wagle. I love the designs. You've got a really cool, edgy brand, and I'm excited to learn kind of the history of the brand and what the immediate future looks like for the designs. I mean, you've got some pretty cool stuff on your website. So let's start with an overview. What is Waggle Golf? And I love that name, by the way.
Yeah, thanks. So, Wagle has been, it's a relatively new venture. I started about 8 months ago, but really, at its simplest is it's a golf apparel company that is attempting to be not like everything else. So right now we focus strictly on men's golf shirts. We've kind of narrowed our focus to that audience for now, but for the most part, we're just trying to create something that's different, that, like you said, kind of flirts with that edge of being kind of outrageous, but also, still kind of remains in style, at least for a lot of folks. And I just felt like there was a gap in the industry with, a lot of standard color block polos, stripe polos, those type of things, but there was a need for something a little bit more fun and fashionable.
So your logo is really simple, but I love it. I love the design of the website as well. Who designed all of that stuff?
So that was all done by me, actually. The funny thing about that logo is I've kind of been not necessarily a serial entrepreneur, but I'm always looking for different things, and I'm always coming up with future ideas even. And I, funny enough, created that logo like 3 years ago. I've self-taught myself kind of graphic design over the course of the last 5 years, and I even did some freelance logo designing for other people and other companies, for about a year. And during that process, I was kind of freewheeling ideas and thought that maybe somewhere down the line I might start a golf company when the right thing came to me. And so I designed that logo and the name actually well in advance of even the business idea or the concept.
Well, I applaud your efforts, and I had no idea that the company was so young. So kudos to you for looking like a brand that's been around for many years. So that's very impressive that you've been able to do that in such a short time.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the idea. It's tough to establish a brand. It's tough to get something that's recognizable and that people can relate to and they see and they know what it's about. And I think through some of my trial and error in the past, I've kind of grown to understand how to get that to be more recognizable and how important a powerful logo is and a message is just with the brand. And so I appreciate you saying that, because that's exactly what we're trying to do.
On your website, shoppers can subscribe to save 10%. What are we subscribing to, and how often are you going to email me?
You're just subscribing to our email list, and not very frequently. At most, I think we've ever done is 2 or 3 email blasts a month, and that's on the high end. We don't intend it to be something that is just flooding your inbox every day. I have a million of those. Everybody has a million of those, emails from different companies and different businesses promoting something every single day. We don't want it to be that. Really, the incentive is just to gain a contact list for us, so that when we do, launch new designs and new products, our subscribers are the first to know about it. So a big part of our business model is the designs of our shirts, and we want to keep rotating those out and coming out with new ones and keeping things fresh and different. And it's just a way to keep those new designs kind of at the forefront of everybody's mind, while also allowing you to have a discount code to save 10%. So there's a little incentive there to purchase as well.
Speaking of the designs from Kentucky Buck to Parrot Bay and Flamingo Sunrise, you have some really unique patterns. Where did you come up with the idea for these patterns? And are you currently working on some new patterns? And maybe you can share some insight on the next design we can expect to see.
The designs kind of all evolved a little bit differently. The first design that we kind of ever came up with and launched was actually the Parrot Bay Design. So that one is still available on our site today. Like I said, we've only been around for really 8 months since last August. So that was the very first design. And believe it or not, it was inspired by Jimmy Buffett. So if you're familiar with Jimmy Buffett and his concert and his fan base, which are referred to as parrot heads, that's kind of the inspiration behind the shirt. For years, myself and a group of friends have gone to Jimmy Buffett concert in Alpine Valley, which is in Wisconsin, just north of Lake Geneva a little bit. And, you know, every time we go, everyone's decked out in Hawaiian shirts. It's a giant party. It's really fun. And everyone kind of gets up and dresses up, you know, like parrot heads. And so the thought behind the shirt was to do just that, make a parrot shirt, make something fun that can also be translated to golf and, you know, looks good at the same time. So that was kind of the initial design. Since then, we've stuck around with kind of the animal theme. We think that's kind of fun. A lot of our designs are tropical, but we've embarked on a few others that are a little bit more rural, I guess you could say, you know, with the Kentucky Buck. And we have a couple others coming out. So we just launched the Toucan Sam design about 2 weeks ago. So that was our newest design. But we have 2 more coming. Hopefully it'll be launched in about 2.5, 3 weeks here. And I can let you in on a little bit of insight with those. So one is going to be a rooster design, and the other one is going to be a crane design. And I'll leave the names out of it for now because the names of them are kind of fun. And actually, we could talk a little bit about that too. Every name of the shirt is reference to a cocktail, believe it or not. Most people don't know that, but it just is kind of a little added flair that we kind of snuck in there for the dedicated group that knows that we do that.
That is really cool, because I was just sitting here thinking I'd love to see a design that's got tigers on it and you call it the goat or something similar, because in my opinion, and we'll talk later, one of the questions you'll get is in regards to Tiger, and I think he's the greatest of all time. But I love the tie to cocktails, and you would never know that. And now that I know that, I can't wait to see what the upcoming designs are called, because that's just a cool little trivia insider knowledge about Waggle Golf.
Yeah, it's something fun that I decided to do because I thought it was really representative of what I wanted the brand to be. You know, the shirts are a little out there, but they're meant to be fun. And the whole idea behind it is that you're bringing a little bit more element of fun to the game of golf. And you're getting away from kind of your everyday traditionalist approach to golf. And, you know, one way I thought about doing that was just naming them after cocktails. And it's kind of fun if you want to actually get the cocktail after the round while wearing the shirt. That's kind of a nice surprise. But yeah, they are all actually named after different cocktails.
If you don't, you should, but you should make custom Waggle Golf themed recipe cards for the cocktail of the shirt and include that in the packaging when you send a shirt. I'm just saying that could be a cool little surprise and delight.
Yep, you're definitely onto something there. I'll leave it at that.
That's awesome. And no, they did not hire me to do their marketing. I feel like they've got a good handle on that already. Now, I can see a model where you release limited edition shirts to people that subscribe. So it's a subscription model similar to a wine club or a beer club where the members get access to exclusive products. Any plans on doing something like that and releasing members-only designs?
You know, that's an interesting thought, and I've given a little bit of thought to it. I think being so new, we're still trying to build that kind of subscriber base, but I do have a desire to do kind of more seasonal shirts and things that correlate with the golf industry. For example, like the 4th of July and USA themed shirts. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but potentially we would release kind of that patriotic American 4th of July themed golf shirt that may only be available for a limited time or a limited number, and potentially it's only available to our subscribers, or potentially it's just a limited quantity that you can get during that time period. But I think that would definitely be something that our customer base would enjoy, you know, something you can only get for so long, that also is kind of relatable to the time of year and what's going on. So that's a great idea and something we're definitely considering.
Where can folks learn more about Waggle Golf and buy Waggle Golf shirts?
So our website is getyourwaggleon.com. And so that is where all of our online transactions really happen as far as purchasing and things go. But we also have a big presence on Instagram. And so that is Waggle_golf is our Instagram tag. And then also we have a decent presence on Twitter. And that's just at Waggle Golf. And so those are really our two biggest social platforms. We do have a Facebook. We don't push that quite as hard. Our demographic really is kind of, the mid 20s to kind of late 30s, but we definitely trickle into some of the older generations too that are looking for a little more spice in their golf apparel.
If I buy a shirt and it doesn't fit, what is your return policy?
So return policy is very simple. We want to make sure everybody gets what they need. And so if you purchase a shirt and it doesn't fit, you send an email to us via our website, and we'll respond and we'll figure out a way. We'll get you a shipping label, you'll send it back, and then we'll send the correct size to exchange. So it's of no cost to the customer at all. We just want to make sure that ultimately you get the shirt that fits you. You're giving us a chance, in purchasing a shirt, and we want to make sure that you're happy with that.
Now, you mentioned that right now that men's shirts is your current focus, but any plans to release shirts for ladies, and even further, anything besides just shirts? I mean, I could see these designs on umbrellas or wallets or golf bags. I mean, there's a gamut of things that you could put these designs on. So kind of and I know that you're brand new, but what's kind of the strategy of kind of what's next with the product line?
Yeah, right now the focus has been men's shirts. I mean, as you mentioned, we're pretty young, and I've started some other things in the past, and I've maybe ran too quickly into other segments and offerings of different products. But the easiest transition for us from here is to move into women's, and that's golf shirts mainly, but maybe even golf skirts. So what we're working on now is a little bit of both. I'm hoping to have some women's shirts by early summer. Maybe it'll be a limited selection, but we do hope to launch women's. There's been a need. We've heard from a lot of our customer base that women are, dying to have a little more fun in their apparel as well, similar to what we offer for the guys. So that's definitely coming. Yes.
How do you price your shirts? Because $59 seems like a really good price for a shirt of this quality.
We wanted to be somewhere in between the low end bargain shopper and the super high end $90 golf shirt price that you're going to pay for your premium brands. We wanted to be somewhere where it's affordable, whereas when we run promotions, that price point drops to the bargain shopper where it can hit them, but it always remains at a price that's affordable for the premium customer too, and even better, it's almost at a discount and compared to some of your really high end brands. So we thought that $59 was a good fit for us and what we offer. We thought it would be, a reasonable price point, especially for a new brand, to just give us a shot. We didn't want to outprice ourselves in the market and say, turn away a bunch of customers that were never going to try our shirts just simply based on price point. And so $59 seems to be like the happy medium for us.
Hey there, it's Gabe Aloisi from Private Club Radio. If you are in the private club business, meaning you're a manager, you're a membership director, you sit on the board of directors, and you want to be entertained and educated, we have a weekly show on Mondays here on the Golf Radio Network. It's called Private Club Radio, and it's just for you. You can give it a listen over at privateclubradio.com or subscribe wherever podcasts are heard.
Where are the shirts made?
So we make them overseas. They're all designed here, but we make them overseas. So my background is actually in sourcing and supply chain. So I went to undergrad for that degree, exactly, operations and supply chain management. I've worked and still work actually at a large manufacturing company here in Minnesota. And so I've done that for a number of years. And so I have some experience with sourcing, working with overseas suppliers. Of course, there's always challenges, and there will continue to be challenges and obstacles with doing that. But we do manufacture overseas currently.
Have you been to the PGA show yet? I could see your designs doing really well on the show floor.
I went this past year, actually, just to kind of see what it was about. And it is, it's quite the spectacle. I'm sure you've been. I had never been before. And it's just the sheer mass of everything that's going on there is really incredible. I mean, there's so many vendors. I mean, I think the show floor is like a half mile, maybe even be longer than that. I can't remember what they said it was, but it's incredible. And you got major brands that basically are popping up stores. I mean, it's not like we did the Minnesota Golf Show here a couple of weeks ago, and we had a little 10 by 10 booth, and it was nice and it was set up and it looked good. But the PGA show is way more in comparison to those small time shows. So it's a big deal. And I wanted to go down and see what it was about, because to your point, it's something that I'm looking into for next year. But at the same time, it is a big price tag just to go. And so you got to really have, I think, a very strategic plan. You have to be well prepared far in advance for a show like that. And you really got to have an understanding of what you want to accomplish, because it's not cheap to go. It's a whirlwind. There's a lot of people. They seem to be moving around real quickly from meeting to meeting. So I'm sure it's a grind to have a booth, but as a spectator and as someone who's just visited for the first time, it was very cool.
I've been several times, and it's overwhelming is the best way to put it. And
Yep.
It's as equally as overwhelming to when the day is finished to go out to iDrive outside of the convention center and see all of the restaurants and the bars and the mini golf. And there's a lot of things to do there on International Drive in Orlando.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. I think I even told numerous people who asked about it, and I said overwhelming was like the one word. If I could describe it, it was just that's the best way to describe it. It's just overwhelming. I mean, you just walk in and it's just sensory overload, and you're just trying to sort through it. And outside of that, to your point, there's different events and things going on at all the restaurants and bars nearby, and it's truly a gathering of all the greatest people in the golf industry, really, for just a short time. And so you got a lot of people working a lot of different angles for just a few days.
You have a live chat on your website, and anyone that knows me knows I am a huge fan of companies that offer a live chat. We actually offer one here at the Fountain Grove Club. I worked on one when I was at Tiburon Golf Club. I'm obsessed with the accessibility to brands via live chat. How many times per day are you responding to messages, and have you been able to track some sales from your live chat on your website?
Yeah, I would say it depends on the day. For the most part, we get probably 2 or 3 people at least every day that want to spark up a conversation via the chat, and ironically, go straight to my phone. It's nice for me because I just get a notification about it. Now I'm not available 24 hours, 7 days a week, but I try to be as available as I can. I mean, ultimately, I'm trying to grow this business to the best way I know how. And if I was a customer and I was looking at a new brand that I'm unfamiliar with, and I like the design, but I wasn't sure on size. The questions that we get is just sizing related. Someone's trying to determine what size is best for them. And in a lot of cases, that can be a deterrent, to make a purchase. If you feel like you don't know what size might fit you best, it's just a risk some people aren't willing to take. And so I think having that chat functionality really allows people to ask a question, and it allows me to engage, because I know the brand better than anything else, to say, well, how tall are you? What kind of shirt do you normally wear in this brand? And I can, pinpoint a size that's for sure going to fit them, the best. And I think that leads to a lot of sales that way.
Are there any PGA Tour players wearing Waggle Golf yet? I can name a few that I think would be suited to wear these shirts.
There are no PGA Tour players wearing Wagle. No, that would be great if someday, that's what ends up happening. But those guys carry a hefty price tag along with them that, it's not really on our radar yet. We would love to get there. I think there's, like you said, there's definitely some guys that appreciate the style, I think, and the designs that we kind of offer, and would be great. It would be great to see it on tour. I think you see a little bit of that flair, I think, with Ricky and some other guys like that, where they've kind of busted down the doors into a little bit more edgy, I guess, if you can consider wearing bright orange and other things edgy. I guess that's as edgy as the PGA Tour gets. But there are guys that I think would be more willing to do it, and I think it would be great to see, even if it's not Wagle. Of course, I'd love it to be Wagle, but I think, letting everybody know, like, hey, this is what the game is about. It's about having fun. There's only so many places in your everyday life that require some type of dress code. Most of the time it's your job. And other than that, it's the golf course. And you don't want the golf course to feel like it's a chore to have to get dressed to go to the golf course. And you want to be able to emanate your own style. And so I think it would be great to see guys, get a little more edgy with their wardrobes and wear something that reflects their personality, maybe a little stronger than just throwing on a brand logo because they're getting paid millions of dollars to do so.
Now, the PGA Tour is allowing shorts in practice rounds and pro-ams. I mean, that's pretty edgy. I'm a traditionalist, so that's pretty edgy for the tour.
You're right. Shorts are edgy. And I even catch myself looking at the TV a couple times when they're wearing shorts and being like, what's going on there? I'm not so sure why they're allowed to do that because you're just not used to seeing it. But yeah, that is an interesting change that's kind of been going on. But I think it's a good thing. I think it's all, it'll take some time to get, let that progress into anything further. But, I like to see it personally.
Who are all of these models on your website? I mean, you've got some guys they were meant to wear these shirts. I mean, if those might be you, I don't even know, but I'm impressed by the way these shirts fit these models on your site.
One of them is me. In a lot of the photos, it definitely is me. Others are honestly friends of mine and people that I golf with regularly. So that's kind of how the whole thing started. The real downside to being a Minnesota-based golf company is that when you get new designs and it's the dead of winter, there's not really a lot of good places to take photos. So it gets to be quite a challenge. And in some cases, we have worked with some photographers from other states just to kind of keep it fresh during the winter months. But for the most part, I'm pretty well connected here in Minnesota, and I know some people that like to do photography, and I got some friends that don't look terrible in the shirts, so I figure I might as well utilize it while I can.
That's awesome. I have friends that don't look terrible in the shirts. Hey, you want to pose for a photo? I love that.
Exactly.
How many people work for Waggle Golf? I mean, is it you? I mean, you just started a few months ago, but what's the staff look like over there?
You're talking to the only one. So believe it or not, yeah, it's just me right now. I do got to give a shout out. My fiance does a lot when she can. So, she does a lot of some of the behind the scenes stuff when we get swamped with orders and other things. She's a big help with a lot of things, but for the most part, as far as the everyday day-to-day business goes, it's just me. I'd like to get to a point where I have to hire somebody, and I think we may be getting there, but I've really self-taught myself a lot of little things over the past 5 years that I think have allowed me to just be efficient in places that maybe other people who just started a business might not be. And so for now, I'm able to handle it and kind of work it that way. But yeah, I'd love to see the team grow, and I'd obviously love to see the business grow, and it is. And so, it'll be really interesting to go through our first golf season, I guess, per se, at least as far as the upper Midwest goes, because I started it last August, and that's a terrible time to start a golf business in Minnesota because the season's basically done at that point. We're heading into winter. So this will be really our first spring and summer with the shirts and designs. And so I'm excited. I'm excited to see kind of what happens here.
Maybe that's the best time to start a golf business in Minnesota, is when the golf season is ending. Nobody else would think that. That could be a clever strategy.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, in some regards, I think it allowed me to ease into it a little bit, and kind of get things ramped up for more of the holiday sales. And I think it's prepared me probably for what's coming here in the spring. So I think you're right. It was probably actually advantageous for us to do that and start it when we did. I didn't know it at the time, but I think you might be right.
Now, this is a very important question that is asked on every episode of this podcast. Do you think Tiger breaks Jack's record? Why or why not?
I do. I do think he does. And I don't know. Tiger has a special place in my heart just because I think he's a very unique athlete. I just think there's, very few, if any, that really have the ability and mental toughness and things that he's shown over the course of his career. I mean, to win as much as he has, and then to battle back from all of the things he's gone through on and off the course. And he appears to be, in pretty good form. I mean, he's worked his way back up. What is he, in the top 20 in the world again? Maybe that's a false statement. I guess I have no idea, but
The guy could almost not walk about 6 months ago, and now he's number 14 in the world. And it's so funny. He was 13 just a couple of weeks ago. He fell to 14. It was a slow news day, and all of the golf publications were like, Tiger's slipping and Tiger's falling in the world rankings. And I'm like, he didn't play, and he fell a spot. Calm down.
It's unbelievable what he's done. And I think that, I shouldn't say people, but I think that, we lose sight of the fact that he had fallen so far, and just to battle back to where he is a minor miracle in itself. And so, when you ask a question of if he's going to do anything, it would be hard for me to say no, because as far as I'm concerned, the guy seems to be able to do it all at some point. And so, will he maybe run out of time and his body may shut down? It's possible, but I think if he can remain healthy, I think he's going to do it.
I think he could win at Augusta until he's 55. I think he could win anywhere in Scotland until he's 55 to 60. I think he can win at Pebble until he retires. And we have to look at it this way. He's 43. The guy looks like he's in his mid-20s. He's ripped. He's still hitting the ball 320 yards off the tee. It's not like he's hitting at 270 and he's struggling to get to the next tee shot. Like, the guy is still a well-oiled machine, and I honestly don't think that he would play if he didn't think that he could win, and I don't think he would play if he didn't think he could break the record, because the wins record is very important, and he gets that by showing up. But I think the majors record is the record that's keeping him from being considered the greatest of all time by everyone. And I don't think it's fair that so many people think that the majors record makes you the greatest, because if that was the case, then he wouldn't play the other 15 times that he plays during the year, and they wouldn't have another 30 golf tournaments during the season if the majors were all that counted. But I think that you're right. I think he's got a chance to do it, and I think as long as he stays healthy, I think that he's going to keep competing, and he's got a really good chance at Augusta here in a few weeks.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too, and I hope he does it. I think like a lot of people, I got into the game of golf, and I remember watching the game of golf because Tiger was on. My dad is a big golfer still, and on the weekends I remember going over there, and there wasn't any other question that you asked when the golf tournament was on except for, well, how's Tiger doing? Where's Tiger at? And that to me is just speaks volumes as to what he has done for the game of golf and how great he was. And so, despite the folks that might want to talk about his off the course, habits and things like that maybe, don't shed the best light on him. I think as far as an athlete goes, and a competitor, he's, one of the greatest of all time. And so I would love to see him find a way to get those records.
What's next for Waggle Golf? I know you're brand new and you're just getting started, but what's the immediate future look like for you and the company?
The immediate future is really to get a couple new designs launched. As I mentioned, that's coming up here really quickly. We're going to embark in a couple different kind of retail ventures. So you may see Waggle shirts in a golf course near you soon, potentially in a retailer near you. So looking forward to that, but then also looking forward to hopefully expanding our assortment into women, because I really think that has a big place, and I think it would be a fun thing to introduce.
That's really cool, and I'm excited to see what's coming up, because you're only 8 months old, but I feel like you've already got a really good grasp on what you're trying to accomplish, and there's no question the future is bright for Waggle Golf. Now, in golf, the 19th hole is a slang term for a bar or a restaurant on or near the golf course, very often in the clubhouse itself. Breaking news here on the Wednesday Match Play podcast. This edition of the 19th hole is presented by Le École number 41, a family-owned artisan winery located in Walla Walla, Washington. This is a brand new sponsorship, and I'm very excited to have this winery involved with both the Wednesday Match Play podcast and the 19th hole. And part of this sponsorship is, well, I'm going to drink the wine. So sorry to those of you at home that aren't able to enjoy this wine with me. I'm drinking a glass of their 2017 Columbia Valley Chardonnay. On the nose, I'm picking up a ton of apple, pear, and stone fruit. And if I didn't have a love for craft beer, I might not even know what stone fruit smells like. The finish on this is long and spicy, and I normally prefer drinking reds. I'm a Cabernet guy. I like big, chewy, bold Cabernets, but this is probably one of the most delicious Chardonnays I've ever had. So tip of the cap to Le École number 41, and I look forward to whatever bottle we drink next week, because this Chardonnay is a great starting point for this sponsorship. Travis, there are a lot of great places to grab a drink in Minnesota. What is your favorite 19th hole, and what are you drinking?
Well, we got a lot of interesting craft beer spots, to your point, and our favorite here in Minnesota is Surly. So Surly has been a big craft brewer here for a long time, and they got a great IPA, Surly Furious, that I really like to enjoy, whether I'm at the actual brewery or just at the course after the round. That's definitely my go-to beverage.
Yeah, Surly is an incredible brewing company. I'm a big fan of their beers, and Furious, I'm a big hophead. I love IPAs. I mean, yeah, I got a Chardonnay in my glass right now, but I'm a big fan of IPAs. And you know what? Whenever we get finished with our conversation, I might have to go open an IPA. I don't have any Surly in the fridge, but we'll see what's available for me this evening. But Travis, thank you again for coming on the show. It was really fun learning more about you and Waggle Golf and the future of this company. I mean, you're just getting started, but there's no question the future is bright. And you have a great brand here. I love the shirts. I love the designs. It's edgy. And I'm not sure I could even pull it off, because I'm a traditionalist. I've got the buttons buttoned all the way to the top. I'm wearing pants. The shirts are tucked in. I take my hat off when I go indoors. I mean, I'm a traditionalist. I'm too young to be a traditionalist, but you talk about Ricky Fowler leaving his shirt untucked and wearing, wild colors, but I'm a conservative Ricky, if there was one. But I can't wait to see what designs you guys come up with next, and I'm excited to learn more about Waggle Golf here in the near future.
Thanks, Ricky. I appreciate you having me, and I love the podcast, and it's been a great experience. So thanks.
That puts this installment of the Wednesday Match Play podcast in the books. But we'll be back next week for another exciting episode of the show.